I see the bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today. Don't go around tonight, well, it's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. I hear hurricanes blowing. I know the end is coming soon. I fear rivers overflowing. I hear the voice of rage and ruin. Don't go around tonight, it's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. I hope you got your things together. I hope you are quite prepared to die. It looks like we're in for nasty weather. One eye's taken for an eye. Don't go around tonight, well, it's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. Oh, don't go around tonight, well, it's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise.
João vai lá, ô. Tá. Ele veio buscar nós não, mano. É tipo daquelas estrelas cadentes, mano.
É louco!
Que louco, que louco!
Olha isso, velho!
Mentira, ninguém vai acreditar, mano. Que lindo!
Olha isso, velho!
Que sonho, mano! Lindo demais! Caraca!
Ô, louco, velho!
Nossa, mano! Ô, João, filma certinho, sai da árvore, sai da árvore!
Que top, cara! Vai cair, doido!
Ô, parece que é uns pedaços de meteoro, mano! Verdade! Vai cair lá em Pirapora! É, que monta é assim? Nossa, velho! Tô descendo! É meteoro! Ih, nada a ver, vai lá pegando fogo primeiro lá! Lanchando já, ó! Chega aí nas portas! Olha lá, parece assim, olha lá, desmanchou! Primeiro cai! Primeiro cai lá, o fogo! Cara, que louco, doido! Puta, João, essa luz.
Gente, que é isso? Glória a Deus!
Avião!
Gente!
No meio!
Não é avião! Não é avião, não!
É!
Eu tô filmando! Que é isso? É o Apocalipse! É o Apocalipse!
Eu vou ver a mortal assim! Eu vou ver a mortal!
É fogo! Que fogo! Que é isso?
É doido! Não existe, meu filho!
Dude! Shooting star? Satellite level? That's a meteor.
Scores of giant asteroids on course to hurtle past Earth within the month, NASA reveals. Scores of giant asteroids are on course to hurtle close to Earth before the end of February, according to latest NASA space data. Some are more than 1 kilometer wide and threaten devastating consequences if they were to strike our planet. Of almost 70 asteroids on the radar, most are around 100 meters wide, the size of a decker, and would be capable of causing significant damage. Experts warn if one of these monsters, some of which travel at up to 70,000 miles an hour, were to hit Earth, it could alter life as we know it. Plumes of debris thrown into the atmosphere would change the climate, making the planet inhabitable for all life, including humans. An impact would still be catastrophic, destroying cities and knocking out transport and communication networks. According to NASA's Near-Earth Object Program, there are 68 close approaches forecast before the end of next month. The next, due on January 3, is the 490-meter-wide 2005-96 asteroid, currently hurtling through space at more than 30,000 miles per hour. The biggest to skim the planet will be the mile-wide 2007 asteroid, due to throttle past on January 12 at 34,500 miles per hour. Experts say although it is unlikely any of these will hit the Earth, there is always a chance they may veer off course or explode, showering the planet with debris. Bill Napier, professor of astronomy at the University of Buckinghamshire, said, "If you are talking about a real major impact, you are looking at one every few centuries. These are the real showstoppers, and in history have sometimes been described as fire from the heavens." However, the smaller collisions happen more frequently. Asteroids of 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles, can cause a global catastrophe which would exterminate around 2/3 of the human race, mainly due to the heat produced. There is also the hazard brought by comets, and these occur on much shorter timescales. If the Earth passes through the tail of a comet, it will generate a massive plume of smoke, and this could be a civilization stopper.
Boom heard throughout the Wyoming Valley today. There were reports that people's houses shook and folks as far away as Mountaintop reported hearing the rumble this afternoon. Newswatch 16's Clay Lepard talked to some folks to see what they thought about the Big Bang. Clay.
Sophia, it all happened around 3:30 today. A loud boom echoed across parts of Luzerne County. For some, their houses shook. And even 8 hours after it all happened, we're still unsure what exactly caused it all. It takes a lot to wake up 12-year-old Kendra Stelz of Lake Township.
I was just sleeping, and all I heard was a big bang.
A big bang heard by more than just her. Many of you let Newswatch 16 know you heard the loud boom as well. Police and emergency officials say several fire departments were dispatched to try and locate what caused the boom in the back mountain. But they had no luck locating it, and they couldn't find any damage either.
Afterwards, me and my daughter went in the car just around the neighborhood to check the other, people's houses who were behind that field, and we saw nothing else. So it was a mystery to us what it possibly could have been.
People here in Lake Township say what's even more surprising is that no one's been able to figure out what exactly it was. Beatrice Price of Lake Township heard it, and she felt it too.
Everything vibrated. I mean, it was short. It was only a couple of seconds, but the whole house was vibrating.
Vibrating so much that her cows and pigs took cover. And that's something she says she's never seen happen like this before.
We have people that hunt and target practice and stuff like that, and there's guns and stuff like that and fireworks and stuff, but it was way louder than that.
There's been plenty of accounts of what people thought they saw, like a smoke trail in the sky. Nothing has been confirmed at this time, so for now, everyone is left to their ideas on what it could possibly be.
It sounded like an explosion. We have a gas place down the road. We thought maybe that the gas place had actually exploded, but there's no smoke or anything like that, so that was definitely not it.
And again, emergency officials still have not been able to determine what caused the loud boom that could be heard for miles. Clay Lepard, Newswatch 16 in the newsroom.
Head scratcher.
Well, what was that noise? We've had a lot of calls, emails, Facebook posts from you. after reports of a loud explosion-type noise in our area Saturday night.
That's right. WSBT 22's Kelly Stopczynski has been working the phones all day trying to pin it down. Certainly no easy answer on this one.
Not really an answer at all, guys. People from here in South Bend all the way down to Warsaw, up to the Napanee area, even as far north as Muskegon report feeling and hearing these noises. But for now, scientists and other experts tell me they are baffled.
Like shook the house. It shook this room.
Emmanuel Reese was sitting right here in his enclosed front porch in Plymouth when he heard that strange noise Saturday afternoon.
I heard a big boom, and they're doing so much construction around here. I thought it might have been a dump truck with the hatch closing or the lid closing, but it was too intense, and I felt it.
And later that night, it happened again.
I didn't think anything of it. Nothing exploded, no sirens, so I figured everything was okay. But then I seen it on Facebook, and everybody else heard the same thing too.
Police dispatchers told a South Bend Tribune reporter the noises in St. Joseph County were from railroad work. But spokesmen for Canadian National and Norfolk Southern say their crews were not working in our area Saturday.
A geologist from IU South Bend also tells me that the U.S. Geological Survey hasn't registered any kind of earthquake activity in Indiana or any of the surrounding states in the past 30 days. And he says even if it did, humans probably wouldn't be able to hear it because those frequencies are so far underground.
So this meteor shower, called the quadrantids, was occurring. Radiant was right about there.
Penn Harris-Madison astronomy teacher Art Klinger says he heard the noises too, and it's possible they came from the meteor shower. It peaked around 9 Saturday night.
A larger rock coming in, a stray asteroid going across the sky, could very easily have produced a sound like that.
A few people reported seeing a flash, but it was cloudy at the time, making that theory difficult to prove.
So another explanation Klinger and some area physicists and geologists suggested was a sonic boom. That, of course, is when an object travels faster than the speed of sound.
And you actually called Grissom Air Force Base.
Right.
What'd you find out?
A spokesperson from there told me that they don't even have aircraft that can go that fast. But Klinger says he's heard sonic booms before, and he heard these noises and says that this was different.
Not that, huh?
Right.
So the other interesting part about this is the time. These reports kind of went on all day.
Right. So the guy we talked to in Plymouth told me he heard it around 3 and then again at 9. Klinger says he heard it around 11 o'clock at night. So all in those areas, it just bizarre.
Nothing really matches with that.
Right. It's just weird.
We may never know then, right?
Right. That's true.
An earthquake shook central Idaho this morning, though it happened hundreds of miles away. Folks in the valley say they could feel the tremors. Jake Melder is live in studio with more. Jake?
The epicenter of the earthquake was a few miles east of Chalice. Measuring 4.9 on the Richter scale, the moderate earthquake didn't cause any damage, but the event highlights an increasing trend of earthquakes in the area.
About every 7 years, we have a magnitude 4 to 5 earthquake in Idaho.
Environmental researchers at Boise State had a busy day analyzing the day's quake. Though the Chalice area is no stranger to earthquakes, it's been a few years since they've had one this big. Research professor Lee Liberty says the quakes come from the Trans-Chalice fault line.
It kind of pulls apart in fits and spurts. It kind of pops and then it relaxes and then it pops, and those pops are the earthquakes that we feel.
The earthquake's epicenter was near Chalice, but thanks to some special geological features, its vibrations could be felt hundreds of miles away here in Boise. Bridget Manacchio was sitting at home browsing the internet when the quake hit.
And I'm drinking some coffee thinking, well, is the house going to fall in on me? Because it was definitely doing some rocking and rolling.
There was enough energy to move decorations in the home.
Some of my little statues and things on my bookshelves had rotated around.
Seismometers at Boise State confirmed the ground here shifted.
This was the Chalice earthquake at about 10:45 this morning.
Professor Liberty explains the reason we felt the shaking has to do with the type of soil in the valley.
We're sitting in a sedimentary basin, and it tends to shake the ground or amplify the ground motion quite a bit compared to the rock in the mountains nearby.
And though scientists can't predict when the next earthquake will strike or how big it will be, it seems unlikely we will see another major earthquake like the one in 1983 strike in the near future.
But it's not like we're seeing some crescendo or some increase in seismicity.
The Chalice area has seen a handful of measurable quakes in the last few weeks, but geologists say this is ordinary behavior. A series of fault lines in the state are the reasons for our mountains, as well as natural hot springs in the area.
Cosset County's latest boom's a mystery. January 5, 2015, North Beaver TWP. When the boom went off, about 8 p.m. Sunday, Diane Mongino was relaxing in her kitchen with her husband and her dogs. "It's like a huge blast," she said. "You feel the house move and hear it at the same time." While the blast was unexpected, it wasn't a complete surprise. Mongino of North Beaver Township said it was the third occurrence in about a week near her house, and she's not the only one to have heard and felt the phenomenon. Residents in Lawrence County, Elport, Elwood City, Wayne Township, Shenango Township have been burning up their Facebook feeds for at least a month with reports of the loud booms and accompanying ground tremors, and nobody can say conclusively what's causing them. Brian Melser, director of Lawrence County's Public Safety Department, said the county 911 dispatch center has been receiving calls about the booms and tremors, and police officers have been dispatched to investigate, to no avail. Lawrence County's Emergency Management Office has not received any reports of property damage or injuries, Melser said, and even though he is aware of the reports, he hasn't heard the booms or felt the tremors himself. The reports are, for the most part, confined to rural areas of the county, which raises the possibility that the booms might be earthquakes triggered by hydraulic fracturing, drilling wastewater being disposed of into underground injection wells. Ray Byersdorfer, a geology professor at Youngstown State University who has provided legislative testimony on seismic effects of the underground injection wells, said the Earth's behavior in low-level earthquakes is consistent with the reports coming out of Lawrence County. Sometimes low-intensity earthquakes can be accompanied with seismic activity, Byersdorfer said, which results in a loud boom heard at the precise moment the Earth begins to shake. But he said it's unlikely that the local booms, at least the one at about 8 p.m. Sunday, are being caused by an earthquake. Byersdorfer said neither the U.S. Geological Survey, an agency that monitors seismic activity throughout the nation, nor Columbia University, which also maintains seismic monitoring stations in the region, reported any earthquake Sunday night of sufficient intensity to produce the phenomena described by Mongino and other county residents. While no one can say conclusively what the booms are, plenty of people can say what probably isn't causing them. Amanda Whitman, a spokeswoman for the State Department of Environmental Protection, said the department is unaware of any permits issued for blasting in the county. The DEP's Northwestern Pennsylvania office in Meadville has not received any reports of any phenomena in the region, which includes Lawrence County, Whitman said. She urged residents to contact the region's emergency response unit at 814-332-6945 or 800-373-3398 after hours the next time they hear the boom. There were no thunderstorms in the region Sunday night, according to the National Weather Service, and meteorologist Brad Ruhick said he is unaware of any other meteorological phenomenon that might create a similar effect. Melser, the county's public safety director, said similar booms have occurred before in Lawrence County, when one of the local fireworks manufacturers has been testing explosives, but those tests usually take place in daylight, while the recent booms and tremors tend to occur at night. "It's kind of a story that's grown legs," he said. "We don't know what it is, but we're monitoring it. If we find out what it is, we'll issue a release." While he admitted that any theory he might have on the issue is speculation, Meltzer thought the blasts might be caused by exploding shooting targets, which he said have become enormously popular. An online search for Tenerity, one manufacturer of exploding targets, yields several YouTube videos of shooters blowing them up. But Mangino is skeptical that the blasts are caused by exploding targets, or anything gun-related. Like many rural western Pennsylvania residents, she's been around guns and has heard the sound of a gun going off. And shooting doesn't sound like what she heard Sunday night, she said. "I'm a hairdresser. I'm not a rocket scientist," she said. "Is it shooting? Not at all. It sounded like a stick of dynamite."
I'm Amanda Hara. Ted Hall has the night off. A loud boom has East Tennesseans baffled over the sound and the source. It rocked Hamblin County bright and early at 7:30 this morning, and no one seems to know where it came from. New at 11, Local 8 News reporter Kyle Warnke spoke with people who heard it today, and Kyle, needless to say, it woke a lot of people up.
Yeah, it certainly did, Amanda, and they say it sounded like a tree falling on their house or maybe an explosion happening somewhere nearby. A few people I spoke with today say they've heard this now several times in the past few years.
Hamblin County, Tennessee isn't known for its large population. In fact, being quiet is part of its draw.
Well, we've heard it again this morning. It's not the first time we've heard it.
It was heard around the county. It surprised ears on Knollwood.
I've lived here 30 years, and I probably have heard it a couple of times.
Buffalo Trail didn't see it coming.
1 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, just different times, but it's happened before, and we don't know what's going on.
For some reason, Hamblin County keeps getting loud booms at all hours of the day.
It felt like a tree falling beside the house. It was just like something fell, hit the ground, boom, and it shook.
The latest happening at 7:30 Tuesday morning.
Yeah, just out of the blue.
Just as Bill Warren was waking up.
All of a sudden we heard a loud boom. I mean, it was a strong boom. It shook the whole house.
Inez Wolf heard it at the same time.
Real loud boom, and occasionally it shook the house.
And the crazy thing is, no one has a clue as to why it's happening or where it's coming from.
Don't know, but sometimes it's scary because you hear it, especially when you're in the bed and it's like 1 or 2:30 in the morning and you hear this big noise and you jump up and you can't find anything.
Now, emergency management in Hamblin County posted on Facebook today. They said they are looking into these booms, but they really aren't sure what is causing it. They say they have teamed up with a group out of Memphis to try to pinpoint what it could be and where exactly this noise is coming from. And Amanda, at this point, no idea.
It's anyone's guess.
Yeah.
Does anyone seem concerned that this could be potentially dangerous?
No, it's the kind of unique thing. People don't really seem that worried about it. EMA didn't really seem like it had much cause for concern either, and it seems like it's really just more of an annoyance. I mean, waking people up at 7:30 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and again, especially when people are sleeping, it's just a pain.
And that's part of the mystery. How do you identify something that happens in the middle of the night when nobody's awake?
Exactly. So a lot of questions. Yeah.
More breaking news for you now as North Texas continues to be rattled by earthquakes. We have had 4 today, and they're all centered in that same general area. A 3.5 magnitude quake shook the area near the old Texas Stadium site in Irving about 3 o'clock. Then About 7 o'clock, a 3.6 quake rocked the same area. Within the last hour, 2 quakes, a 2.9 and a 2.7. They both hit right after one another. And in total, we've had 20 earthquakes here in North Texas since November. Fox 4's Richard Ray joining us now from Irving. We're scientists and people, too. We just want to know what is going on, Rich.
It's crazy, isn't it? SMU seismologists are on the case. They're trying to figure out what's going on, but the short answer is they don't know.
It was just like a quick jolt.
From an apartment complex in Irving.
The whole apartment just started shaking, and my Christmas tree fell over.
To a Dallas office building.
We're sitting in the conference room upstairs, and the whole place just goes, shakes.
Even this part of Texas has old faults, and those old faults have stored stress.
SMU scientists are trying to figure out what's going on. Before 2008, there had only been one reported earthquake in what's called the Fort Worth Basin. Since 2008, more than 100 in North Texas. Just Monday, the seismologists deployed a third monitoring device in the Irving area. Earlier, they put 12 near Azle, another hotspot of seismic activity. Many wonder if fracking has anything to do with it. Dr. Brian Stump says that's not yet part of the discussion, but disposed wastewater is not being ruled out.
When they recover the oil and gas, there's fluids there's water with that, and they have to separate the water, and then they have to dispose of the water.
And when they do that, that can trigger.
It has historically shown that in some places that they've triggered small to moderate earthquakes.
SMU seismologists say the 3.5 and 3.6 are among the strongest we've felt, though a pair of 3.7s occurred near mineral wells. For many, today's quakes were the first they'd ever felt.
My stomach is still like...
Actually, it was real scary, though. You know, everybody was sitting in their chair, all of a sudden you saw it swaying backwards and forward, and, you know, for people here, that's their first time being in one. So that kind of freaked everybody out a little bit.
I feel this loud rumble, my DVD started falling off my dresser.
Gloria Tinner has felt earlier quakes in Irving, but this afternoon, she says, was different.
It was harder than normal and lasted a little bit longer. It rumbled like everything, the walls, the floor, it shook. I want to know what's the cause of it, what's going on, why is this happening, this shouldn't be happening here.
That is the burning question tonight. No timetable on when we might get an answer. A lot of people do want to blame that fracking technique that is used to get hard to get oil and gas, but Dr. Stump says again, there's no evidence of that yet. Heather?
All right, so scientists will keep looking at it, and people are going to keep posting on Facebook and tweeting about it and all this, but you know, meantime, you talked about the Fort Worth Basin. Talk about what area that covers, Rich.
Well, Dr. Stump called it a old boundary fault, and it roughly runs from Azle down to Cleburne, covering a much wider area than that might be affected by it. Again, before 2008, just one reported earthquake here in North Texas in that Fort Worth Basin. That happened in 1950. Since 2008, now more than 100, something like 48 of them in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, including a couple that we felt just, an hour ago?
Yeah, just about an hour ago. Number 3 hit at 8:11, number 4, 8:12. So, all right, so people are talking, scientists are going to look at the numbers, and you know, we'll keep posting about it as we continue to feel them. Rich.
You want here, just... Is it recorded or the red button? It's okay. Can you shine the light up there? Okay, what we're looking at here, you can see, hopefully, I'm going to run the light along the beam here. There is what looks to be a 2x12 that is absolutely smashed from the top. You can see up there's a lighter portion on the skip sheathing where the beam has come away, where the rafter has come away from the ceiling. This had to be an incredible impact. You can see the break line right here where it snapped it on the long edge. And you can also, I hope you can see that it's actually pulled it out of the beam pocket a bit. There is some nominal structural damage. Now the beams aren't too far apart here. I'm looking at 10 inches apart, so I don't know how critical it is, but it is structural. And Brian, this is like what was on the floor. This is the piece that came. I have to believe something that big, which we have to assume it's lost some mass in the heat, but yeah. So there's another piece in the same. It had to be going at an incredible rate of speed. Yeah.
We reported on those earthquakes in Texas, felt in and around Dallas. Well, tonight, word of yet another one. Now, 11 earthquakes in just the last 24 hours. And, of course, the new concern over what's causing this. ABC's Clayton Sandell tonight.
When you think earthquakes,
Yep,
we're having an earthquake. You think California, Japan, maybe Mexico, but Texas?
Did we just have an earthquake? Yes, ma'am, I believe we did.
In the last 24 hours, nearly a dozen small quakes clustered near the town of Irving, leaving Texas-sized cracks.
It's just like a line just coming through. It's just like it just separated my house.
Rattling the entire Dallas-Fort Worth area.
I want to know what's the cause of it, what's going on.
At the National Earthquake Information Center in Golden, Colorado, they're not ruling anything out. Quake experts say the tremblers could be a rare, natural fluke, but they also say huge amounts of wastewater, a byproduct of oil and gas exploration pumped deep underground, just might be the trigger. That's what scientists believe is happening in the oil and gas boom towns of Oklahoma, now the most active earthquake state in the country. A 4.0 shaker there just today.
Could this be the start of something bigger? The more small earthquakes you have, the more likely it is that you could have a larger damaging quake.
Tonight, Texas officials are working on new emergency plans, getting ready for what might be coming next. Clayton Sandell, ABC News, Golden, Colorado.
Booms, and they're traditionally found in the coldest regions in the world. But since Oklahoma's temperatures have dropped drastically, residents are a little shaken up.
It's a pretty poorly researched topic.
Oklahomans are becoming more familiar with earthquakes here in the state, but have you heard of cold booms? Or as OU professor Dr. Parsons puts it,
frostquakes.
Reports are flooding in across the state about people hearing loud, mysterious booming noises underground. We talked to News Channel 4's own chief meteorologist, Mike Morgan, about the strange sounds. He explains.
It turns out these cold booms are a fascinating phenomenon, and it turns out it really all began with that pretty decent rain we had late last week. That rainfall soaked into the ground. Well, then we had this rapid freezing of the temperature. When you go from a liquid to a solid, it gets larger. Well, it turns out when it goes to an ice phase, it has no place to go. So it shows up as a cold boom and actually causes a miniature explosion in the ground.
And although it is noisy, officials say there's really nothing to worry about, but in some rare cases, it can cause structural damage. At the National Weather Center, Andrew Donnelly, News Channel 4.
Residents react to mysterious boom in Lubbock, Texas, January 6, 2015. Lubbock, TX. Hundreds of residents in Lubbock heard a loud boom around 6:05 p.m. Tuesday evening. Immediately, viewers took to Facebook to try to pinpoint the location and express their concern. One viewer commented on Facebook saying it shook her house in Wolforth, and many other viewers said it sounded like a car had ran into their garage. Based on the viewers' feedback, KAMC has gathered that the boom stretched from 19th and Milwaukee to as far as 110th and Indiana. The Lubbock County Sheriff's deputies went to investigate the area around 1585 and Brownfield Highway after receiving reports of the sound of an explosion. But after scoping the area for 30 minutes, they left empty-handed. So, what was the source of the loud boom that almost everyone heard but no one saw? The answer seems to be unknown. Lynn County Architectural Testing, Inc., a company that conducts blast tests for commercial companies, said it had not conducted a test during the time the boom was reported. There have been several accounts of what people thought they saw, like a large cloud of black smoke in the sky. However, nothing has been confirmed, so for now, everyone is left speculating. Another mystery boom mistaken for earthquake. 2.0 earthquake rattles eastern Connecticut January 8, 2015. A small earthquake rattled residents of eastern Connecticut on Thursday morning. Residents of Plainfield reported hearing loud booms on Thursday morning. Police said the National Weather Service and the Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security confirmed a 2.0 to 2.2 magnitude earthquake centered 1.8 miles south of Danielson, in the northern part of Plainfield. Seismographs at the Weston Observatory at Boston College registered the earthquake just before 9:30 a.m. And Dr. John Ebel of Boston College said a 2.0 earthquake would cause a loud boom, followed by some shaking, but no damage, end quote. This is not true. You would not even feel a 2.0, let alone hear a boom out of it, and this was not confirmed on USGS, quote. Plainfield police said they received more than 50 calls to 911 reporting a loud explosion, followed by shaking, which match Ebel's description of a 2.0 earthquake. While this is not a common occurrence in Connecticut, it is not unheard of. Ebel said there are, on average, 6 earthquakes per year in New England. Before confirming that the calls were reports of an earthquake, police said they, as well as the fire marshal's office, ruled out any active blasting in the area. Incidents on Interstate 395 or with the Providence and Worcester Railroad. Weston Observatory also had 2 reports of earthquakes in the area of Danielson on November 9.
It just startled us.
There was this loud boom. The house shook. Dudley and Carol Young are talking about what they thought was an explosion around 9:30 this morning in their otherwise quiet community, and they were hardly alone. For more than a half hour, police say, the 911 lines lit up.
We had a big explosion over here somewhere. It shook my house.
It shook everything in my house. It moved my pictures.
How many blasts did you hear?
We heard one. It shook my whole house. It was a bad one.
We received over 50 calls and we couldn't find what the source of the calls were.
The police were running all over town and the fire marshal was out and about.
We listened to the scanner and everybody was baffled on just what it was. That is, until the National Weather Service confirmed that it was a 2.0 magnitude earthquake centered in North Plainfield, just about 2 miles south of Danielson.
I'm not aware of any other earthquakes in my 19 years here.
Police say initially they thought it was a plane crash or possibly a train derailment, since these tracks go right through town. But at the end of the day, it was just Mother Nature giving these folks something to talk about besides the cold. In Plainfield, Amy Parmenter, NBC Connecticut News.
Okay, this is getting crazy. 8 mystery booms in 1 week for the beginning of January 2015. Now in my home state, cause behind a loud boom still a mystery. January 8, 2015, Ottawa, Iowa. Some residents in Ottawa have been hearing some interesting noises in the past couple of weeks. Ottawa residents have been posting their concerns on Facebook, trying to figure out what could be causing the loud booms. KTVO decided to see what people had to say, and here are some of the comments we got. John said, I live 30 miles away from Ottawa and it happened at my mom's house 2 weeks ago around 9 p.m. It sounded like a bomb went off. It shook my house. Knickknacks moved. I have lived in this area 54 years. It has never happened before. Someone needs to find out what it is. Another comment reads, I remember this same discussion last year and there was a scientific reason for it having to do with the ground reaching certain low temperatures, and one Ottawa resident told us the noises are indescribable. It's just so unexplainable because everybody throughout town has been hearing it. But yet there's some people that live 2 or 3 blocks away that don't hear a thing, said Ottawa resident Dana Jones. Some people are saying the noises are caused by the cold, something called frost quakes. And others say it could be a sonic boom. For now, it's a mystery yet to be solved.
In the Waterloo-Cedar Falls area say a loud boom shook their homes today.
Yeah, mine was one of them. If you didn't feel it, you might have heard it. However, what caused that boom is still a mystery. KWWL's Lauren Moss looked into a few theories.
So our Facebook has really been blowing up all morning. We're going to start out our search for this loud boom on Rainbow Drive out in Cedar Falls. That's where really the majority of the people say they heard this boom. So we're going to try to find something.
There was a huge boom that shook the house, the windows shook, the floor shook. And I thought, it must be a tanker car that had exploded or something.
The only comparison I can think of is somebody doing a blast on the side of a mountain to knock the rocks off. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
So we talked to a lot of people off camera in Hy-Vee. A lot of people thought it was a transformer or maybe a phone box that had exploded. But we talked to CFU and nothing along those lines happened this morning. And a lot of people didn't even hear anything. So you were up and you didn't hear anything?
No, I heard no boom.
No boom, no house shaking?
No house shaking.
So we spent all day and talked to a lot of people to try to figure out details about this boom. We called the fire department, the police department, the CFU, the metal scrapyard, and the airport. They all knew nothing. Now this was the centralized area where the boom was heard in Waterloo and Cedar Falls on these streets. Now we talked to dozens and dozens of people, both men and women, in person, on Facebook, and over the phone. And here's a couple of theories that they came up with, but they were all proved wrong by these guys. So really, we don't know what's going on. The only theory that has not been proven wrong at this point is the cryoseismic boom. Now what that is it's a mini explosion within the ground caused by the rapid expansion of frozen water. Now, once again, that's not confirmed, but right now it seems to be the only thing that's really making sense. Lauren Moss, KWWL News.
Well, as for the scrap metal theory, they say they have noises coming from their yards all the time, but it was really nothing unusual this morning. Now, if it was a cryoseismic boom, officials say it's not dangerous.
New tonight, things that go boom in the night. Dozens of people in Council Bluffs are reporting a mystery noise on Facebook, some even going to the cops. Jackie Ochoa looks into what it could be.
A mystery is rattling Council Bluffs.
It is definitely generating a lot of buzz.
There were these loud booms.
It's a number of different things that it could be.
Sounds like a bomb going off. People are taking to Facebook wondering what is causing loud boom noises in the western portion of Council Bluffs. For Kathy Beatty, it's been happening once a week for about 2.5 months.
Sunday, I heard a real loud one in the afternoon and just happened to get on Facebook, and there had been a group started in Council Bluffs following the loud booms.
A lot of people posting, asking questions. There's a lot of people have had the same concerns.
Council Bluffs police say they've responded to a few calls for loud boom noises, but when they go out to investigate, they don't find anything and they don't hear anything. This is one of 2 manufacturing locations for Griffin Pipe. They make pipes that carry water, and Council Bluffs police tell us they don't think it's them making all the noise. Police have also ruled out Mid-American Energy. The thought here was that maybe it was a transformer blowing, but that's not the case, they say.
I think there's an explanation. I don't think it's a mystery.
Council Bluffs police tell us these reports are coming in from all over this western part of the city, so they can't pinpoint one specific location for where these loud boom noises might be coming from. Their best guess is fireworks. Reporting live, Jackie Ochoa at WOWT 6 News.
And if you have heard about the noise, we want to hear about it. Share your story on our Facebook page. When and if police find out what's going on,
It's not thunder or rock blasting or even fireworks, so what is it? Mysterious, unexplained booms rocking parts of North Georgia. Fox 5's Denise Dillon joining us now live in Kennesaw, searching for answers. You know, Denise, I heard them myself this weekend in the downtown area. I even tweeted about them to see if anybody else heard them. I understand you've been hearing them too.
Yeah, I heard it too. The one I heard was just one loud, singular boom. And I wasn't the only one, obviously. You, me, and lots of folks here in Kennesaw. Last night, it was a night just like tonight, damp, dreary, and it was right around 6 p.m. when people started reporting they were hearing that first big boom. And no one seems to know where it's coming from.
A pretty loud boom.
A boom loud enough to shake the house and scare the kids.
The house was definitely, it shook. We didn't know, what it was. But my kids were so upset and they ran in. They're like, Mommy, Mommy, what's wrong?
Folks in Kennesaw say they heard the first boom around 6 Sunday night, then several others until about 9:30.
5 fireworks, all like exploding at once.
I thought maybe it was a transformer that blew.
While there is a train that runs through town, no one believes that was it.
It was a pretty loud boom, so it wasn't just a couple of trains clanking together.
We checked with the Telescience Museum to see if they had any reports of meteorites or even earthquakes. They said no, but they did tell us sound travels differently in the winter, and it could have been anything from a sonic boom to distant thunder. But Fox 5 meteorologist Jeff Hill says there was no thunder or lightning in the area.
I think we can rule out lightning because, looking at the radar and going back through Sunday, there wasn't any lightning up around the Kennesaw area or throughout Cobb County. If it was something maybe out of Dobbins, maybe some kind of sonic boom, you're going to hear that during the wintertime a lot more intensified.
Kennesaw police looked around, but they couldn't find the source of the boom either, leaving a lot of folks coming up with their own theories.
Plate tectonics and the poles shifting. It's definitely a mystery.
Now, to me, it kind of sounded like a cannon going off, but I don't think that's very likely. If you have any ideas, go ahead and tweet me or send me a message on my Facebook page. Denise Dillon, Fox 5, reporting live in Kennesaw. I'm Denise Dillon.
To know what they are myself. All right, Denise, thanks.
Mysterious booms in the dark of night. After our story aired about these unexplained loud noises reported in Kennesaw, hundreds contacted us saying they too have been hearing the booms from Carroll County to White County to Walton County and just about everywhere in between. One woman even caught the booms on video. Shock.
We don't experience here all that often, but there was a small earthquake this morning here in Connecticut.
And that meant we got a whole lot of calls and reported emails. It all happened just after 9 o'clock this morning. It was mostly felt in Plainfield. News 8's Tina Detal went to get answers about exactly what happened.
This earthquake was felt all throughout the northern part of Plainfield, including right here at the police department, which received more than 50 calls from people who wanted to know what was going on. For almost an hour, the lines in this dispatch center were all lit up. So many calls, officers helped answer the phones as report after report came in.
You heard an explosion? Yeah, there was one hell of a jolt. My whole house just shook. It sounded like it blew up in my front yard.
Even police felt the earth move in Plainfield at about 9:30 Thursday morning.
We're actually thinking the worst. We're hoping that there's no type of accident that happened from motor vehicle to trains to planes.
Police ruled out accidents and blasting and were soon relieved to find out that jolt heard throughout town was a 2.2 magnitude earthquake.
That was stacked very neatly earlier.
I thought so. Tom Ledger jokes because there was no real damage to his home or new foundation.
I thought a car hit the house or something. It was like this crazy loud boom and, the house shook, a couple things fell off the shelves.
No structural damage or injuries, but the small quake did wake up the quiet corner and those who never expected they'd experience an earthquake in their neighborhood.
My 19 years here, it was the first time that I'd known of a confirmed earthquake.
Some of the folks who called the police department were actually reporting that they thought a local company was blasting without a permit. Turns out that was not the case. In Plainfield, Tina Detal, News 8.
New details on a real shakeup in Connecticut. The neighborhood news spotter bringing us to Plainfield, just over the Rhode Island border, because that's where a 3.3 magnitude earthquake hit early this morning. Were you one of the ones that actually felt it? Hi everyone, I'm Dan Janik. Well, judging by your calls and your emails, this morning's quake was felt well into Rhode Island. NBC 10's Mario Hilario is live in Plainfield tonight with new developments on this. Mario?
Yeah, good evening, Dan. Well, look, coincidentally, a lot of kids in this area didn't have school today because of the wintry weather this morning, but it wasn't what was falling from the sky that had a lot of folks in this area concerned.
And my whole house just shook.
The 911 calls came in fast and furious.
We're getting multiple phone calls. We're thinking it might be another earthquake-type incident. Oh, my God. What's your name?
An earthquake that hit in and around Plainfield, Connecticut around 6:30 Monday morning.
And boom, boom, and the house started shaking.
Maria Tarvis-Prue and her family had just woken up when it happened.
It happened so fast, in 7 seconds or so, and it was just very, I was shaking like crazy, and the kids were like laughing and kind of nervous all at the same time.
I heard her scream, and so I jumped out of bed. I'm like, I think we just had an earthquake. And I'm like, that was a really big earthquake.
Officially, it was a 3.3 quake with smaller foreshocks and aftershocks that continued into the early afternoon.
It's very nerve-wracking.
Meredith Humphrey felt all of them. The strongest one knocked this hanging chandelier off its hook while she was in the kitchen.
And it kind of knocked me across the room. And all the cabinet doors opened. Little things were falling out. Dishes rattling all over the place.
Plainfield police took up to 50 calls at their department alone.
This is new to us. It's something different. We haven't experienced it before. So we did have emergency plans in place just in case.
Now, Plainfield police say no damage or injuries reported from the quake. When Captain Arriaga said this was new to them, he meant new before last Thursday. You see, this is not the first quake to hit here in the Plainfield area in just the last several days. We'll have more on that, and we'll hear the woman who felt the big quake hit while she was on the phone with police. That's all coming up new at 6 o'clock. For now, we're live in Plainfield, Connecticut. Mario Florio, NBC 10.
There was another small earthquake this morning in eastern Connecticut, the 12th in a week. Nobody seems to know why. Here's Jerika Duncan.
In the last week, rattled Plainfield, Connecticut residents have made more than 300 calls to 911.
I just had a big explosion. I don't know what it is, but my whole house shook.
Right, it's coming from all over the area. I'm getting lots of calls, ma'am.
Marion Diggs says she's felt every earthquake.
I was sitting in bed drinking my early morning cup of coffee before everybody got up, my time, and all of a sudden I heard this loud boom.
People here have reported minor damage from the 12 earthquakes that have hit between the towns of Danielson and Plainfield. Most have been under a 2 magnitude. The largest occurred Monday morning at 3.1. Seismologists at Boston College Western Observatory are collecting data on the frequent tremors, hoping to find out why the so-called swarms are happening. Dr. John Ebel.
We've had a few scattered epicenters in the past from that part of the state, but this is something that's new for us.
Scientists tell us earthquakes are usually caused when underground plates move from side to side. In Connecticut, the plates are moving up and down. Plainfield Police Chief Michael Supernaut says without answers, the phone calls from worried residents continue.
We can't put our finger on it, and before you even know what's happening, it's over.
It's the talk of the town right now.
Yeah, it's taken up a lot of our time. And I can honestly say I think for a week I've gotten no police work done.
Hydraulic fracking has been blamed for causing some earthquakes in Pennsylvania and Oklahoma, but Bob, officials here have ruled out man-made disturbances as a cause.
Okay, Charika, thank you.
Mysterious boom sounds are reported across the Asheville area.
News 13 received multiple messages and phone calls about the blast from Leicester, Hinkle, West Asheville, Candler, and even Fletcher this morning. News 13's Darren Botello began investigating.
Darren, what did you find out?
Larry, following the booms and a call to 911, a Facebook user posted a video of someone shooting a gun at what they say is tannerite, causing an explosion near the area where residents say they heard the booms.
I heard 4 or 5 gunshots all in a row, followed by a very loud boom. And I really felt like the cabin even shook a little.
West Asheville resident Naomi Stock says the loud noises woke her up.
So my brain went to the thought of a firework, right? Kids shooting a gun, maybe it was a loud firework that they set off afterwards, or maybe you can shoot at a firework and make it go off.
Stock wasn't the only resident to hear a boom around 12:30. Dozens of others took to Facebook and contacted News 13 looking for answers. Just over the mountain from Stock in Leicester, a Facebook user posted this video, claiming it was Starnes Cove, showing a man shooting a gun, followed by an explosion early this morning. And in another video, the same user talks about tannerite, a legal but explosive powder used for target practice. The same user and another also made reference to explosions, saying, boom, anybody feel shaky? And night night Asheville, LOL, hashtag boom. The users posted pictures of another Facebook page where the community wrote about their concerns over the blast. But Stock says she wasn't so much concerned as she was curious.
Well, I like to investigate, so I was hoping to find some gun shells or some remnants of fireworks or something.
Now, we reached out to the Facebook users who posted the videos and comments, but it appears they have deleted their Facebook pages. We also reached out to one of those users directly who did not return our comments as of news time. We also reached out to the Buncombe County Sheriff's Office, who says they responded to a call around that time earlier this morning of shots fired, but said they found nothing. Live in Buncombe County, Darren Botello, News.
We're learning more about a possible explosion that occurred out at Compressed Steel in Sioux City late this morning. We've had multiple reports of people feeling the shock and hearing the boom of that explosion in and around Sioux City. We're going to take a live look from Compressed Steel. A large boom came from the facility around 10:40. The manager tells us they suspect a propane tank may have been put through their shredder. That is against company policy, but he tells ABC9 it has happened before. Compressed Steel has shut down to investigate the problem. If a propane tank did go through the shredder, it can cause significant damage to the equipment. We're hearing there were no injuries. It was probably a grill-sized propane tank. There has been minor damage to the facility. We'll have more on that coming up tonight at 5. All right, toss her in.
asteroids. Our solar system is littered with them. And according to NASA, a big one is coming close to Earth. But no need to fret. There is no chance that this space rock will collide with our planet. By close, we mean more than 700,000 miles from Earth, or about 3 times the distance from here to the moon.
We should be getting some great radar images of this asteroid. So radar would be the key to study the asteroid's surface, get an idea of its shape, whether it has rocks and that kind of stuff on it. It'll be really exciting.
The asteroid is called 2004 BL86, and scientists estimate it to be about 1/3 of a mile in size. While asteroids pass by the Earth all the time, this is the largest one to come this close to Earth until 2027. So scientists are jumping at the opportunity to observe and study it. Now, while there's no imminent asteroid threat that we know of, that isn't stopping scientists from tracking and cataloging these asteroids and developing planetary defense strategies.
So over time, we're going to find more and more of these asteroids, and we slowly eliminate all of the large ones from the possibility of hitting the Earth in the next 100 years or so. This particular one we have to keep an eye on. In 1,000 years, there could be an increasing chance of this asteroid hitting the Earth. So we want to keep an eye on it and keep tracking it, and just make sure we've checked, in the long term, that there isn't any possibility of even this one hitting the Earth.
But scientists aren't the only ones who will be tracking this thing. All you need to see it? A good set of binoculars or a telescope and a dark, clear sky.
Welcome back. They're happening every day. A swarm of earthquakes has been shaking the ground in northern Nevada since July.
Yeah, specifically, the swarms are happening in and around the town of Vaya. That's about 220 miles north of Reno, right up by the border with Oregon. And let's show you now the U.S. Geological Survey's real-time online map of Nevada and California. You see that area where the blue box is on top? Blue means, here they are, blue are ones that happened today. And there's a box inside a box box inside a box here. There were 50 shakers in that area just today.
Yeah, and the bigger the box, the stronger the quake. Today alone, we had a 4.2, a 3.6 this afternoon. So what does it all mean? In this special report on shaky ground, News 3's Denise Ross traveled to the remote region up near the Oregon border to find out.
Country people are used to being prepared for just about anything.
Greg Winchell says it's a topic that has the town talking.
All righty, man. Have a good evening. Yeah, we're feeling them and observing things swinging in the air.
The sudden seismic activity felt in and around Cedarville, California, a so-called swarm of earthquakes popping up 25 miles away in a remote stretch of the northern Nevada desert.
You look at the mountains, you know, that's how they were pretty much formed, you know, by the ground moving around. And so it is a concern, but it doesn't keep me from sleeping at night.
But scientists are losing sleep.
This seems to be potentially the largest swarm we've had. We can't think of a bigger one.
Graham Kent is director of the Nevada Seismological Lab, who says since July, about 3,500 quakes have been recorded near Villa, Nevada, a speck on the map near the Oregon border and home to no more than a handful of ranches. Still, almost 200 of the quakes have been magnitude 3 or larger. One, recorded January 22nd, registered 4.7. So the big question, is all this activity leading to something bigger in Villa?
If you go back into the history, 150 years and move forward, we actually know a lot of the big magnitude 6 and 7 earthquakes in Nevada have swarms just like this before. And so, again, we don't know whether this is going to be the one that goes large or the next one, but we're learning everything we can from this one.
The swarm is being monitored right here on the campus of UNR. Now, even if a big quake is detected, say in the 7 range, chances are very slight that there would be any damage in Reno, and certainly in Las Vegas, we wouldn't even feel it. Still, the information being gathered is important because the next swarm could be under you.
This type of activity could occur anywhere through the state of Nevada.
Tom Rennie is a seismological record analyst, keeping tabs on the swarm, along with PhD student Christine Rule.
This is a map of all of the events with magnitude, so it goes from about 0 to 5 here.
Taking another opportunity to point out Nevada is the third most seismically active state in the country, and earthquake preparedness is key.
We were able to get some information out to the public about, bringing things off their walls and getting their homes safe, in the area that they're sleeping in safe, so that they wouldn't have things fall on them.
It's a warning that did not come 6 years ago when an earthquake swarm spawned a magnitude 6 event in L'Aquila, Italy, killing 300 people. Seismologists and emergency responders there accused of manslaughter for trying to calm fears about the swarm and not adequately predicting the coming disaster. Their convictions were overturned late last year, with some observers worried it was science itself put on trial.
So there's been 2 here today.
At least 2, but at least in the afternoon we had 2 3s, 3.5, 3.1.
Wow. Back in the Nevada desert, it's impossible to know when this swarm will stop. Until then, Winchell says he's ready to drop, cover, and hold on.
It adds a little excitement to the day, when you do feel them.
Waiting for the ground to settle over in Villa. Denise Ross, News 3.
So the last sizable quake to hit Nevada was back in 2008. That's when a 6.0 rocked the small town of Wells, Nevada, and it caused more than $10 million in damage.
Mystery boom mistaken for earthquake in Winchester, UK, January 27, 2015. Quote, an earthquake measuring 2.9 on the Richter scale has hit Hampshire, as hundreds of residents said they felt the earth move. Users on social media reported a tremor and a loud bang near Winchester shortly after 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, which caused buildings to shake. The earthquake struck at a depth of 3 kilometers. According to the British Geological Survey (BGS) website, Pam Logan, who lives in nearby Littleton, told the Daily Echo, "We were having our dinner when there was a terrific bang and the whole house shook for a few seconds. It was very disconcerting. We thought that maybe it was some sort of explosion, especially as we live fairly near to the army camp." Hampshire Constabulary said it had received lots of calls from concerned residents in the Kingsworthy area following reports of something which felt like an explosion which shook their houses. No injuries or damage has been reported. Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service called the earthquake, which happened south of the village of Headbourne, worthy, impressive, and also tweeted, "Seems like reports of small tremor in Winchester area this evening true. Our crews have been out and found nothing." Jen Gupta tweeted, "Our house in Winchester just shook enough to rattle glasses in the cupboard," accompanied by a boom sound, while Robert Hilton said, "South Wanston just got what seems to be an earthquake. Everyone out on the street. Car alarms going off and dogs barking." The BGS said it had received a report from residents who said the whole bed was visibly shaking, as well as one who said the earthquake sounded like a bus crashing into the neighbor's house at speed. Another told the BGS at least 5 other households ran outside to make sense of what had shook the houses, end quote. This is the signature of the mystery booms. Most earthquakes do not start up so abruptly and end short. And these are examples of normal earthquake readings. Notice the difference.
I've just been out for the night and for the evening. Came home, switched on telly, had a cup of tea, and suddenly it felt like there was this massive explosion in my roof. And I thought the house was going to cave in, and the house was shaking a bit, so I went out to see if anybody else in the street had experienced the same, and it wasn't just me, and there were other people, and we all communicated that that was really quite frightening. That was very loud. We've had them before in this area, but nothing that caused that sort of noise and extent before, so yeah.
Yeah, it does sound pretty frightening. I mean, how long did it take you to sort of realise that what had happened was actually an earthquake?
Yeah, that's it, because I thought, oh, it's probably my gas or something, you know, something's exploded in the roof, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, and I went outside to see if there was anybody else about, you know, that it wasn't just me. And so I felt it was quite reassuring that our neighbours were out on the street and were saying, oh, you know, that was loud, and exchanging stories about it. So, yeah, that was quite reassuring that it wasn't just me at my house.
Yeah, so yeah, just to be sure, I mean, no one you know, no one in your street, that no damage has been done, no one was injured or anything like that?
Not as far as I know, no. I haven't, you know, I did phone a friend and she said, oh, that was really frightening. I hadn't experienced it in quite that magnitude before around here. So, but yeah, so far I think everybody's intact.
The entire house shook. My daughter and my wife both jumped up out of their chairs, wondering what on earth it was.
All the glasses started shaking. It felt like someone had driven into the back of the club or something.
There was a big like rumbling, and the whole house shook. We thought the whole place was going to fall down.
Last time I had an earth tremor was when I was out in Cyprus, and I actually slept through it, so it was quite good to actually feel one for a change.
So that's where all the police, and it felt like it had hit me, so it felt like it was probably next door. It was that close. So my husband and I went round and checked the neighbours to see if they were okay, and then it was over, but there wasn't any smell, there wasn't any smoke, although kind of hard to see at night time. Probably about 9 police cars came through, so we assumed that it was connected to whatever the explosion was. We wondered whether someone's gas tank had gone off, or dare I say it, a P-lab or a shotgun. It was enough to give force. And then I saw on Facebook this morning, someone had said they heard it in Lyle Bay. So still don't know.
Oh, there would have been at least 12, 14 cars, and the dog handlers as well, 2 dog handlers, armed defender squad going up the street. It was just this loud bang, which I thought it was we shook the house. Jumped out of bed, the dog took off. It sounded like an LPG bottle going off, and that's what I predicted. I looked out over the airport, and nothing, and then spoke to everybody out on the street, was looking around, waiting for see what anything. Then next minute the police arrived, armed defender squad, and the street was cordoned off, and then about 11:15 it was all over, and there was nobody was injured, there was no ambulance staff were not required, and it was all shut down.
Side's own earthquake. It was barely felt outside of the Kirkland, Redmond, Woodinville area.
But if you were sitting down in one of those communities, chances are you felt it like a big bang. King 5's Glenn Farley, live in the University of Washington Seismolab. Glenn, how serious was it, really?
It's not real serious, and it is very interesting, though, and for some people is even fun, and depending on where you were or what you were doing, it felt like a truck driving by, somebody dropping a pole on the ground. There were all sorts of interpretations depending on where people are. But when the big one does hit, and it will hit, say the scientists, this gives them an insight into how the dirt, depending on where that dirt is on the east side, will behave.
It does take quite a bit to knock these off. I mean, we climb them all the time.
Tyler Farnsworth is the assistant winemaker at JM Cellars, sitting in the office at 9:37 this morning.
The whole house was shaking. Pretty sure what it was at that point, and then it was done. I mean, it just completely stopped, and we came outside thinking there might be aftershocks.
No aftershocks, but winery owner John Bigelow says it was enough to knock down this window screen. The barrels were fine. First thought to be a magnitude 3, later analysis backed it off to a 2.8.
And it felt like a dinosaur had walked by.
For Susan Huff, it's a Jurassic Park fishbowl moment in this Kirkland accounting office.
Yeah, it was quite a ripple. It was really fun, just like Jurassic Park.
Plenty of people filed felt reports with the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network at the University of Washington. The numbers came in by zip code, more than 110, and that was just in Kirkland, 300 overall. The blue areas where the shaking was felt.
This will help us map out where there's going to be stronger and less strong shaking across the east side.
For state seismologist John Vidali, this may be more of a roadmap for when a bigger quake hits. The scientists are having a hard time pinning down its exact location, which suggests this may be on a new fault.
It doesn't give us a good clue what fault it's on.
Now, more analysis is likely to come with this. The irony in all of this is John Bigelow at JM Cellars happened to be out shopping for earthquake insurance for his business, obviously not knowing this was coming. Live at the University of Washington, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.
He's a wise man. Thank you very much, Glenn.
Explosion-type noise heard in Rankin and Hinds counties, January 25, 2015, Rankin County. MS Mississippi News Now. Saturday night, many residents in Rankin and Hinds counties heard what they're describing as an explosion. We contacted officials and were told by the Richland Police Department that they received a lot of calls Saturday night inquiring about the loud explosion-type noise. We were told officers searched several areas of the city and did not find what caused the loud sound. A resident on Low Circle in Richland said she heard the noise between 9 to 9:30 p.m. Saturday night. The resident said the noise sounded like thunder. We received several Facebook messages asking if we knew what the explosion was. Some viewers said it shook their homes, and from comments the noise, whatever it was heard from Richland. Brandon, Pearl, Florence, Jackson, and Star, a viewer who called into our newsroom, said her sister heard the sound and she lives in the Crossgates area of Brandon. The caller said her sister told her the noise sounded as loud as 5 or 6 transformers blowing. Our news crew searched several locations in the city of Richland, but was unable to locate evidence of an explosion.
Strange sight in the sky had the Bay Area buzzing over the weekend, but KPIX5's John Ramos found out the mystery object so many people saw has a very down-to-earth explanation.
On Saturday afternoon, around 1 o'clock, something appeared in the sky above Sonoma County.
We got a call from someone calling in on 911 saying that they had seen an object falling from the sky. It appeared to be a plane. They thought they saw flames.
So in seconds, an emergency response ramped up, sending deputies, CHP units, even the Sheriff's Department chopper, nicknamed Henry 1, to an area just west of the rural Sonoma County town of Valley Ford.
Henry 1 completed a search of the area, and along with bystander reports, it was determined that it was actually a meteor that had fallen, not a burning airplane.
At the same time, social media caught fire with tweets and posts from all over the Bay Area. Several people registered reports on a website that lists worldwide meteor sightings. Some questioned whether there was a connection to another fireball seen earlier that morning that turned out to be a launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base. And everyone seemed impressed that the meteorite could be seen so clearly in broad daylight.
This thing, gets very bright because it gets very, very hot, thousands of degrees, and just for a few seconds until it, self-destructs in this burst of light.
Astronomer Seth Shostak says tiny space rocks hit the Earth every day, and this object may have been no larger than a pea. But emergency responders weren't taking any chances.
In this instance, someone thought a plane was crashing, so of course we sent as many resources.
But this story ended not with a bang, but a whimper. And now somewhere out there is a cosmic souvenir, a little piece of the heavens that will take a sharp eye to find. In Sonoma County, John Ramos, KPIX.
Serious booms. We received several reports of some loud noises throughout the Kansas City metro. So, new at 6:41 Action News reporter Shannon Halligan looked into what may be causing these suspicious sounds.
In this YouTube video, you can hear what sounds like an explosion. The video, posted in late December, shows it happen several more times. Jimmy Brewer said he heard a similar boom on Sunday afternoon.
I helped sell fireworks during the summertime, and it to me sounded like it was a fairly substantial Class B firework, which is a lot bigger than what you sell at a fireworks stand.
He was out jogging in Kansas City near the Independence border, but couldn't tell where the noise came from. Do you think it could have been like a sonic boom, or what do you think?
I've heard a sonic boom before when I was in the military, but it was still pretty loud.
We called Whiteman Air Force Base to see if they ran any training operations, but they didn't have any aircraft flying this past weekend. In another YouTube video, a locomotive horn goes off right before a long boom. There are several train lines that run near the location where Jimmy said he heard the noise, but he said that's not where it came from.
I just got hired by Union Pacific, so I've heard trains. I don't believe it would have been a train.
We went to UMKC Assistant Physics Professor Paul Rulis. He didn't know the source of the noise, but said there is a way to determine the location of it.
Once you have the equations and you have the recordings, you'd be able to figure out where that sound came from, even if it was not inside the triangle made by those points.
Well, another possibility, a frostquake. This image sort of demonstrates that. It's rare, but happens when there's a rapid drop in temperature, and that causes an expansion of frozen water, creating a sort of mini explosion. And we'll continue to dig for more answers. Live in the studio, Shannon Halligan, 41 Action News.
Investigation into the boom heard over parts of Louisiana Tuesday, February 3, 2015. Calb, Alexandria, Louisiana. Many reports came in Tuesday afternoon of a loud boom that shook the ground in some places. Some witnesses say it was so strong that it rattled windows, doors, and even their houses. Reports came from a wide area across the state, with some even as far east as Baton Rouge. We contacted the United States Geological Survey to follow up on the possibility that an earthquake had occurred. The USGS said it did not record any seismic activity across the state during the time period in question. Local authorities and military installations were also contacted, but no explanation was found. Upon further investigation, we found that the American Meteor Society (AMS) had logged 3 sightings of a fireball in the sky across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama Monday night. A fireball is a meteor that is burning up as it enters the atmosphere, with a fireball being reported the night before. Could it be possible that an exploding meteor was the cause of the boom? We talked to those at the American Meteor Society and they say it is definitely a possibility. A big fireball could definitely cause a boom, shaking of houses, rattling of windows and doors, said Michael Hackey, who's with AMS. It's also possible that a sonic boom from a jet, a military jet, or something going faster than the speed of sound could cause a similar effect, said Hackey. Usually if a fireball is big enough to cause such an event, it is bright and reported by hundreds of people to the AMS. The event occurred during the afternoon with thick cloud cover present. This could help to explain why no bright explosion was witnessed, though a valid theory. It remains inconclusive. The AMS will continue its investigation by analyzing seismographs across the area for anomalies that may offer clues as to what happened. Possible mystery boom over Bridlington, UK, February 3, 2015. Quote, "So, what woke everyone up this morning?" Bridlington residents stormed onto social media after many townsfolk were awakened by a loud bang. Others reported car alarms activating and electricity being temporarily cut off. Alan Wilson posted on Facebook, "The power went out at 3:40 a.m. on Waterdale Close for a second, and set the car alarm off." Caroline Field added, "Everyone on our street is up and I can't go back to sleep." Others even considered the bang could have been a result of aliens visiting the town. The Met Office were unable to definitively identify the cause. However, it was likely a phenomenon known as thunder snow. It is essentially the same as a summer thunderstorm, but the rain is frozen. If enough ice crystals build up in the storm's cloud, then a large amount of static electricity builds up. Once enough static electricity has generated, there is a discharge between the cloud and the ground. Lightning. The flash may appear brighter due to snowflakes reflecting the light. However, the sound of thunder can often be muffled due to the density of the snowflakes. However, the boom seemed loud enough to wake half of Bridlington in this instance, end quote. One commenter says, quote, "Don't believe that explanation for a moment. A thunder bang comes from above. This bang came from the ground and shook my house." Another commenter says, quote, "It's one of the loudest, strangest sounds I've ever heard in my life. It sounded like lightning, but like lightning in slow motion, really loud. Sounded to me like the sky was being ripped apart by something. Never heard anything like that before."
you live along the coast, you may have heard what sounded like a sonic boom this morning. More than 50 people in St. Johns County called 911 after hearing it. Here's a portion of one of those calls.
St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, how may I help you?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Sean Wilson. Something shook my entire house. Sounded like an explosion.
Yes, sir. We received several calls on this, and we're in search of the area to see what's going on.
The FAA is saying military planes were in the area. Channel 4's Kristen Cosby joins us live from Ponte Vedra Beach with more of these 911 calls. Kristen.
Mary, the calls came from places like right here in Ponte Vedra Beach, as well as across St. Johns County, Nocatee, Fruit Cove, Durbin Crossing, and those calls describe quite the noise.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, thank you. My name is Penn. I just heard a big blast, and it sounded almost like dynamite exploding. And I don't know where it came from, but it shook my house. So I'm very curious as to what's going on or what it was.
The calls came rolling in, more than 50 of them around 9:30 this morning.
911, you have an emergency?
I'm not sure, ma'am. I live in Valencia here, and we all just heard a really loud explosion. Well, boom! It was clearly an explosion. I've heard it before. I don't know where it was from.
The calls came from the Palencia, Ponte Vedra Beach, Julington Creek, Fruit Cove, Nocatee, and Durbin Crossing areas.
No, we walked outside to see what it was because it just almost knocked you out of your chair and shook the garage door. It thought it was going to come off the rollers. So I don't know what happened. I don't see anything on
The St. Johns County Sheriff's Office tells us the loud noise also triggered many alarm systems. The explosion sound is believed to be caused by large military aircraft. The FAA tells us military aircraft were in the area, but can't confirm if it broke the sound barrier. The callers who rang 911 sure think it did.
Yeah, I was in Iraq. I know explosions. The concussion was good size.
Yes,
so that means it was either huge or really close.
Yeah, it was the equivalent of somebody coming and dropping like a big green Dipsy dumpster right in the center of my house.
And investigators are still trying to figure out exactly which military aircraft was flying through St. Johns County this morning. We're told that there are no more F-18s off the coast of Jacksonville, and we thought they might be coming from Beaufort, but we gave the station there a call, and we're told it wasn't their jets either. Reporting live in Ponte Vedra Beach, Kristen Cosby, Channel 4, the local station.
Ты красиво.
А что такое?
О, сейчас взорвется все.
Что-то интересное.
Что такое?
Фотай, Костя, фотай.
Комета, да, вроде отходит, видишь? Вверх тянется, видите?
어젯밤 전국 곳곳에서 UFO를 봤다는 신고 전화가 잇따랐는데요. 유성이 떨어지는 모습이 관측되면서 한바탕 소동이 빚어진 겁니다. 김태윤 기자입니다.
서울 마포구의 한 도로, 밤하늘 위에 밝은 빛을 내는 물체가 순식간에 지나갑니다.
유성이다. 유성 떨어졌어, 유성.
이 물체는 서울뿐만 아니라 대전과 광주 등 전국에서도 발견됐습니다.
벌써?
어제 저녁 8시 40분쯤 전국 곳곳에서 밝은 빛을 내는 물체가 떨어지는 모습이 관측되면서 운석이 떨어졌다, UFO를 봤다 등의 시민들의 신고 전화가 잇따랐습니다.
그냥 갑자기 뭐가 번쩍하면서 쌕 소리가 나더라고요.
전문가들은 화구라고 불리는 유성의 가능성이 높은 것으로 보고 있습니다.
별똥별 중에 비교적 큰 걸 화구라고 부르는데 하고 순간적으로 삼각을 내면서 딱 타고 지나가는 것도 있고,
전문가들은 이번 유성이 남동쪽에서 북서쪽 하늘을 가르며 약 5초 동안 지나갔는데 이례적으로 밝은 빛을 내 누구나 쉽게 관측할 수 있었